It's very common to see pain and tightness on the back of the shoulder blamed on weak, tight, or overactive muscles. But in my opinion, this is a short-sighted approach that's not taking into account the biggest structure that's involved within this, which is the rib cage. See, a healthy shoulder is a mobile shoulder, and the shoulder blade, which is a structure that needs to sit on the rib cage, needs to be able to glide effectively. It needs to be able to upwardly rotate, downwardly rotate, externally rotate, internally rotate. But this is all dependent on the foundation of which this shoulder blade sits, which is the rib cage. If I have a tight rib cage, which means that these ribs don't really move very well upon inhalation or exhalation, and they don't rotate well to accommodate for rotation, then our shoulder blade is going to be basically compressed against the rib cage and unable to effectively move. For example, in order for me to turn towards the left side, to have left trunk rotation, these ribs right here on the right side need to come down, and these ribs on the left side need to open up. So that's going to result in me needing to get these ribs to be pushed back on the left side. This is rib cage external rotation. The other thing to take into account is that the scapula is a naturally concave structure, rounded like this, that needs to sit on a thoracic spine that is convex or pushing out slightly. There's a reason why it's designed this way, because the normal human spine curve has a degree of this S-shaped curve. There should be some degree of rounding within this upper back that allows for the scapula to effectively glide on it. But if we have compression and it's tight, then we're not going to be able to get that movement very well. So we want to open up this space, and the best way we can do that is with the breath. So if you have tightness back here, it's probably because the rib cage space in between the scapula and the spine is compressed and we can't open up that space. So I'm going to show you 2 exercises you can do to open that space and get instant relief of compression in that area. And we're going to do that by pushing these ribs back and separating, opening the space between the scapula and the spine to maximize the expansion of that space that's usually missing. This ribcage compression is very common in so many different types of people, which is why it's a foundational component in the first phases of my beginner body restoration program and my shoulder health program. Because as I mentioned at the beginning of this video, the more stiff and tight we are back here, the less rotation and freedom of movement we have through that area. Not only that, but we also have less shoulder mobility because this is stuck against the ribcage. Here's one exercise I find very helpful for getting the general opening of the space in the back ribs. What we're gonna do here is get a ball, a yoga ball, just like this, and we're gonna put it up against a wall. And we need to make sure that we have our knees directly underneath our hips and our hands shoulder width apart directly underneath our shoulders. And what we're gonna do here is really get some rounding in the back to open up the back and expand the back and stretch out those back muscles. We're going to initiate this by exhaling through our mouth and reaching through the floor, keeping our elbows very, very slightly bent. That's going to prevent excessive tension from going through our system, but we're gonna really get some rounding through here and our low back. As we exhale, we're gonna push our hips back into that ball. That's gonna engage our lower abs. Get a full, long, soft 8 to 10 second exhale. As you feel those side abs and deep lower abs engage, inhale through your nose, maintaining that. You're gonna feel your back really open up. Exhale, push back into that ball. And you're gonna keep feeling more and more abs. This is gonna be pretty challenging, but you're gonna feel a lot of opening up in here. And that's what we're looking for here. So to recap, exhale, push about 5 to 6 out of 10, and you're gonna feel those lower abs engage. Hold that tension as you inhale through your nose, nice and soft, silent inhale. You're gonna feel all this open up. An optional modification to this, which might feel better for some people, is to create a diamond with your hands, just like this. And that might allow for some people to get more expansion back here and opening up of this space. Everything else remains the same. Another thing to keep in mind, if you don't have a ball like this, then you can get something that's kind of firm but also compressible, like a bunch of pillows, and stack them up between your hips and the wall, and that would also work. The most common mistake with this activity by far is that people are gonna end up shrugging their shoulders. And that's usually paired with the hands being too far away from them. So make sure you start with the hands directly underneath the shoulders. I can tell you after coaching this many times, most people think their hands are underneath their shoulders, but they're not. So make sure that you have them right about there. And even if they are underneath the shoulders, when people go through this and they reach through the floor, which is what we want, they end up shrugging their shoulders and getting really tense. Just relax. Just like all of these exercises. More relaxation is usually better. So again, shoulders out of the ears, chill, and make sure that this is nice and relaxed. You're trying to chill this area while getting that 5 out of 10 push through here. So tension should be through the hips, not the shoulders. Another common mistake is people are gonna have their knees way too far outside. That's gonna put you in an awkward low back position as you push. So make sure your knees are directly underneath those hips and your feet are pretty relaxed. Or what we can do is we can reach one side more than the other. So let's take, for example, I wanna open up my back left ribs more than my right. If I were to push my right hand further ahead of my left, that would push my ribs back on the left. And that would maximize the opening of the space on the left side because that right arm reach further is going to turn me to the left, which is going to turn my spinous processes to the right side. And that's going to help me move my scap away because I'm still reaching on the left, and that's going to open up that space. If you wanted to open up space on one side more than the other, here's a way that you can do that. I'm gonna show you two different things here, and depending on how you do this, you can get expansion in your back on both sides, or you can bias it on one side more than the other. But it's essential that we have ourselves set up around a desk where we can have a 90-degree angle at both our knees and our hips. This box is a little bit wide because we're at a gym, but at the end of the day, we do want to get our knees in a position where they're in line with our hips. But we'll do the best we can here. So we're just gonna have Trevor sit nice and tall, feeling his sit bones, and he'll probably have to scoot a little bit closer because of the box being a little bit too wide, but you guys will get the idea. So we're gonna have Trevor start here, feeling his sit bones. So you might need to roll your pelvis back and forth a little bit to find where your pelvis is nice and neutral. If you're feeling your sit bones, that's a good sign. You just don't wanna be too extended or too flexed, but we wanna be tall. Now, keeping our wrists in line with our elbows and our elbows in line with our shoulders, we're going to initiate this by pushing our ribs back and slightly reaching away from ourselves like that, keeping a slight bend in the elbow. Now, what you'll see is Trevor pushed his ribs back a little bit. So imagine there's a hand on your back and you're pushing back, protracting your shoulders, but you're not slouching. If you slouch, that's not good. That's not gonna get you what we want here. So slight protraction, just like that. And now what we're gonna do is a nice soft exhale through the mouth. Open your mouth side out for about 5 to 10 seconds. At the end of that soft exhale, you're gonna feel your side abs engage on both sides. Hold that, close your mouth, put your tongue on the roof of your mouth, and silently inhale for about 5 seconds. I should not hear you inhale, but I should hear you exhale softly. Maintain that position. Keep your head up, eyes straight ahead, and do that for about 5 breaths. If you do that well, because your ribs are coming down and you're keeping the tension slightly in your side abs, just about a 3 out of 10, as you inhale through your nose, you're gonna feel some expansion in your back. Now, if you wanted to bias one side more than the other, all you would need to do, let's say I want to expand the left side more than the right, I would just reach the right slightly more forward, pull the left very slightly back. The offset doesn't need to be more than just 2 to 3 inches. But make sure that you're not pulling your scat back on the left. Keep the reach. All you need to do is just slightly reach your right arm further forward, which will bring your left arm further back. So there's really no need to even do anything with your left arm here. Same exact thing now. Exhale softly till you feel your side abs, 5 to 10 seconds. You'll feel more left side abs now. Hold that, tongue on the roof of your mouth, close your mouth. Inhale through your nose softly. You're gonna feel your left back expand. You'll know you're in a good position when you feel, because of this turn, think about turning through your rib cage, you're gonna feel a little stretch between your scapula, shoulder blade, and your spine. And if you feel that just a little bit, you know that you're getting the right turn. But if you feel your shoulder blade compress and you feel the muscles in between your shoulder blade and spine turn on, then you know that you actually just compressed your backside instead of turning. Now, the most important thing, as I mentioned in the demonstrations, is that breathing and breathing correctly is absolutely key. Longer and softer exhales to get the ribs to come down is always better than harder and more forceful. So generally a 5 to 10 second soft exhale, and then close your mouth, pause, and then put your tongue on the roof of your mouth if you want to maximize the opening of your airway. Inhale through your nose very silently, but for about 5 to 8-ish seconds, and you're really gonna feel that space open up. The more relaxation, the better, because remember, we're already tight. We don't want to create more tension. Relaxation is key, and if you do that well, and if you do that for about 2 sets of 5 to 10 breath cycles, you should see something nice happen.